Hi, my name is Sohail. I'm the founder of the Oops, I Said God podcast and the founder of Soul. Today, I'm here with Paola Atlason, and she's going to be talking about how we nourish our being through liberation. It's a very fascinating story. Paola, welcome to
Thank
the
you.
podcast. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's always you're like sunshine.
Thank
Every
you.
time I see you,
I
it's like a
appreciate
breath
that.
of fresh light.
You can
Actually.
thank all the people who've loved me. They're the ones who get the credit.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me this. So, what happened when you turned 40?
I love it.
Sorry, we're gonna dive right in.
So what happened when I turned 40? Actually, it happened before I turned 40.
Okay.
I've been talking about this quite a bit because I love a good hindsight. We live life forward, but it makes sense
Mhm.
backwards.
Yeah.
And it's something that I like to do as a self-care practice is every chapter, every year, it's not on a calendar, but every once in a while I'm like, how am I feeling now? How did I feel this time last year, that last
It's like
month?
a check-in.
Like a check-in.
Yeah.
I check in with myself daily, weekly, monthly, whatever.
Okay.
And recently, I've been going through what I feel it's entering a new stage of life. I don't want to say chapter,
Yeah.
but it's a new stage because everything blends together, right?
Yeah.
In hindsight, what happened was I had been burnt out for a very long time without knowing it. I don't think burnout had a name. This is almost 10 years ago.
Alright.
I was climbing up the corporate ladder. I had a great design job for a big company. I had a team of 18 designers. I'm doing all the
Oh,
licensing. I
wow.
used to be an accessory designer.
Yeah.
And that was my goal since I came to New York when I was 20. I was like, I'm going to make it big. I want to be a president of a company. And I built myself up. And slowly but surely, very slowly, I started not wanting that anymore. But at first I was like, no, don't even think that. And then it started getting louder and it started really affecting me emotionally and physically. But again, I didn't know. I just thought it's life. I'm a new mom. I just have too much work. This is the way it's supposed to be. I even remember consulting with somebody that I considered a mentor at that
Yeah.
time. And he scolded me because I said, I'm not feeling as lit up by my work. And he said, you should be grateful that you have a job. And I was like, all right, I will never say that again. So what happened was I feel like I had reached the bottom of that burnout barrel. And I decided I did not want to feel that way anymore. It wasn't even how I did not look like myself. It all happened because I had to take a passport photo.
Yeah.
I was traveling for work. And I looked at the photo and I was like, who is this woman? Because physically, I was, in hindsight, very inflamed. I thought I was just gaining weight, but I wasn't eating a lot of food. But my eyes were damp, dead. And that was a wake up moment for me. And I like to tell people that what is it that they call it? Your rock bottom doesn't have to be a tragic, I was on a gutter, high on drugs.
Yeah.
It can be you looking in the mirror one day and be like, I don't recognize myself, which
Mhm.
is what happened to me. So I decided in that moment that I was turning 40 in a few months and I didn't want to spend the next half of my life feeling like that.
Yeah.
So I took the vanity out of it for a moment because up until that point, it was all very vanity driven, which is nothing wrong. But I always did everything to look a certain way. And this was the first time I said, I want to feel differently.
So what happened?
So I am a very curious person. Since I was a little girl, my
What did you
family,
get into?
I know, my family always, if you said something that struck my interest, my grandma had encyclopedias, all the volumes of the Britannica
Yeah, yeah.
and I would go and grab the encyclopedia. I would start reading. I would do research, go to the library. There was no internet.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, when I decided I wasn't going to feel like this anymore, the first thing I wanted to understand was how food worked in my body, in the body.
But why food?
Because diet culture is present in women since we probably
No,
turned
but I meant for
teens.
you. So that's why it was for you?
Yes, I
Yeah.
was dieting my whole life.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
at that point, one of the first thoughts I had was, I'm barely eating food. So it's not the food making me feel like this,
Mm.
feeling so out of myself. I never weigh myself, but just to give you an image of how I looked physically, my son was 3 at that point, and I looked like I just had a baby.
Oh, wow.
So I was still holding whatever hormones, inflammation, all that stuff. So for me, food was a starting point because it was the thing I did every day and it wasn't working. And in the past, it had worked.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, let me start here. Let me see what I learn about this. And surely enough, probably because our phones listen to us, I started getting these ads for nutrition school. I was like, nutrition school? I didn't know you could just go to a school for 1 year. I thought you had to go to NYU or Columbia and become a dietitian or whatnot. So that started sparking my interest. I took the leap. I had the time. It was a study at home program and it opened up my world. And not only into food, but the program I studied talks about the nervous system, meant how your mindset affects it, which I never even connected. This is, I'm telling it, 10 years ago doesn't seem like that long ago, but we were not talking about things how we talk about them today. There's
Yeah.
so much more knowledge available today. So for me, it was like opening this Pandora's jar of fun things to learn.
Okay. And so you go to nutrition school. You right?
Yes, I went
Okay.
to nutrition school,
And
figured myself out,
okay.
and then I'm like, I feel like I need to share this with people. So as a fun project, and part of the curriculum, you have to coach friends or
Yeah.
whoever is a volunteer.
Okay.
Mind you, I still have my fashion work, which
And that was
now
full time.
that was full time.
Okay.
So this is an add-on. I'm going to school and I'm doing this. For me, it was fun. Like I love one of my self-care practices is learning. So when in doubt, I pick up a book, I do something. But I felt like I had to share it because for so long I felt so confused and lost. And I was talking to somebody today and I was sharing with her how in that time period I was always tired.
Yeah.
I was exhausted. And of course, people say, "Well, you have 2 little kids and you have a full time job." But I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's a type of tiredness that just doesn't go away. And now I have so much energy that the days that I don't, I'm like, wait a minute. But it was normalized. So I felt that I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted
Yeah.
to share
You
it.
wanna
And
tell people, "Hey,
yeah,
this
it
is
may
not
not
normal
be,
that you
yeah,
feel this way."
yeah. And that the solutions that were being presented were not the right ones.
Yeah.
Eat less, exercise more, take a bunch of supplements, do a cleanse. It's like you're actually depleting yourself.
Okay.
So for me, it was, I feel like I was on a mission to help people wake up to the reality that you actually have to eat,
Yeah.
that you actually have to rest, and that you can actually change your mind about things at any given moment, especially for women, because that was the layer on top of everything was the discontent I had. I was experiencing with my career and everyone around me telling me, you chose that. So now you gotta see it through. And I think that's the thing that's really harming me.
So what are some of the because now you've worked with individuals and supporting their journeys, their nutritional journeys in particular, but which is also really, and we'll talk about this, a mirror to our own spiritual journey. But before we dive into that, I'd love to know what are maybe 3 to 5, give us a good deal here, 3 to 5 major insights that most folks, they just don't really hear about. They fail to hear about that you've learned as you've coached so many individuals on their journeys.
Let me see. Number one, I would say for women to understand that we need food and we need to eat, and we need to eat way more than we have been taught that
Okay.
we need. And I'm not talking about calories. I'm not talking about times a day. I'm talking about nutrient density. I'm talking about including all the food groups as opposed to excluding them
Yeah.
because we are a hormonal ticking clock and those hormones need energy and need food.
Right.
So the less you eat, the more disarray, the more weight gain, the more irritability, the more everything. So we need food.
Okay.
Number two, I'm starting with a like low hanging fruit. Exercising more doesn't work because that adds more stress, that burns you out more, that takes a toll on your adrenal glands, hiking up your cortisol. So if you're not sleeping well, if you're not releasing any weight and you're eating a little bit and exercising a lot, that's actually the opposite. Doing
Okay.
things with focus and a purpose is more effective than just doing a
Can you give
lot.
an example of that? What does that mean?
Working out 3 days a week
Yeah.
for 20 to 45 minutes, switching it up. Maybe one day you run, maybe one day you swim, maybe one day you take a class. But this idea of every day, an hour a day,
Yeah.
sweating buckets, boot camp style is just going to not pay off. Maybe when you're 20, 25, but
Yeah.
the further you go into your hormonal development, our bodies don't like that.
All right. So that's number 2.
That's number two. Number three, I think, is one of the most important ones, which is if you're not working on the energetics of things and energetics slash spiritual, you're missing 3/4 of the equation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the equation.
It's huge because you could be I've worked with hundreds of women at this point.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of data points that I
Mhm.
could
That's why I'm asking you these
consolidate.
questions.
Yeah. And not that I see people as a statistic, but there are some common threads.
Yeah, of course.
And I've seen so many women that eat the right things, quote unquote. They're eating healthy food. They're eating, I don't like the term, but clean food.
Yeah.
They're working out. They have careers, they have everything. And they're just like stuck. Their health is not working out. They have autoimmune issues, hormonal issues. And it's because there's a big elephant in the room that hasn't been addressed.
Yeah.
And that's what takes a toll in your whole system. And it typically has to do with purpose. It typically has to do with dynamics at work, dynamics in relationships. Add to that what's happening all across. We have an open window to the world. So we're
Mhm.
feeling so much. So if you're not addressing, you get a sensation that causes an emotion. That is where we speak and act from.
Wow.
So if you're just addressing food and exercise and medication for your health or supplementation, you're just addressing symptoms, but not the cause.
That's a solid point. You're not gonna give us two more now.
I can give you 2 more. Let me
You don't
see.
you don't have to.
Meditation
Okay.
is an incredible
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
So is gratitude, having
Of
a
course,
gratitude
yes.
practice, because again, nervous system,
Yeah.
hormones and nervous system are one and the same, and
Alrighty.
you feed them, you nurture them, you nourish them. And there's such a misconception around what meditation is supposed to be.
Right.
And people try to, my meditation wasn't right, or I can't sit there. Saying meditation is like saying sport.
Mhm.
There are so many kinds. You just have to find something that resonates, but
Solid
sitting
point.
with
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely. There's a million different
Yeah.
ways of doing it.
And then the last one, I'm going to give you another good one because it's something has been changing with me. It's sleep.
Okay.
Sleep
that's
is when the magic happens.
Massive.
Yeah.
There's so much incredible research on it.
Yeah. Sleep is when the magic happens. For a long time, I lived my life. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I had 2 kids, one after the other. And I read once in the New York Times that it takes 7 years for parents to have a decent night's
Oh wow,
sleep.
really? Are you sure it's not fake news?
No, that was real.
Oh, okay.
My son, he was 6 and I was counting the minutes. He would come into my room in the middle of the night. Mama, I love you. I'm like, I love you too, honey. Can you tell me at 8, not at 3?
That's funny. Yeah, that's cute.
But sleep is when the magic happens. So if you're doing
Yeah.
all these things throughout the day and taking care of yourself, but then you're going to bed at 3, waking up at 7.
How are you doing that, Paola?
No, I'm not doing that.
I know, but how did you
Yeah.
do that?
Oh, I used to do that. Yeah.
'Cause
I
as
was
you-
up all night.
Really?
Yeah, because they wake up.
Oh, that's right. I don't have kids, so I can't speak
Yeah.
to that. So that's
They wake up and I nurse them for at least a year. My daughter a little longer, my son a little less. So my husband didn't have anything to give them if they woke up in the middle of the night. So I'm like, why am I waking? He can sleep. I'll go.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I'm like, I should have just waken him up for company. So that
The experience. I have a lot of friends who are having children now, and all of them, they have red eyes. So they really are figuring out how to manage their sleep. And as the research shows, during our sleep, we release so much from our mind. It's so powerful for cleansing our entire bodies,
yeah.
resetting our cells, etc. So thank you for sharing the 5 points. Appreciate it. I would love to dive deeper on number 3. Right. So you said 3/4 of what folks are trying to actually change is really you're saying it's spirituality is the elephant in the room. Is that right? And I assume that's related to our psychology of who we are.
Yeah.
Say more. I'm curious.
I would say it's very connected to purpose, feeling like one has a purpose.
I see.
And feeling that when I was a teenager, I definitely went through that stage of, why am I here?
And who am I?
And who am I?
Yeah.
And what is the point? And I was really into philosophy.
So we have to ask that question again if we want to eat better and lose weight.
Because what happens is we grow up and we are placed in a structure that's preset for us, for most of us.
Yeah.
For many. At least in city life culture of college education.
There's a path. A lot of people feel like they're
path.
compelled to go on a path.
Yeah. I didn't even have a choice. Like interestingly, I'm the first person from both sides of my family, my parents, that graduated college.
Okay.
Everybody went and dropped out and did something and did
Yeah.
not. Before my parents, they didn't. My grandpa was in the military. My
Yeah.
grandma, she did. She was a teacher, so she did complete her education. But I was the only one, the first one that I'm like, I'm gonna go all the way. And it was not only something I wanted to do, but it was not even an idea that I wouldn't. Like everybody in my school were like we
Yeah.
graduated high school, we
You go
went
to
to
college,
college.
it's part of the steps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't I remember from my own experience, you did an IQ test and you did what do you call it in English? Skill, like
Uh,
things that you lean towards.
maybe it's just better to forget about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the name doesn't need to be mentioned.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
was like, what am I good at?
Yeah.
Because at 16, I graduated really young. So, I have to decide now. And all my friends were going to be doctors and lawyers or do marketing. But a lot of them already knew that they may be married at one point and have kids. And then I was like, I had this idea that I would never get married, that I did not want to have kids. I was just going to be like this power woman.
Yeah.
I was very influenced by 80s show.
Freak
I'm in
out.
Vogue. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. But I didn't. I rolled into higher education because I just had to choose something.
Yeah.
So I chose art, fine arts, which in reality is not like the most
Yeah, how do you get a
career.
job with that? Come on, Paola.
But I was like, all right, I'm good at drawing, I'm good at painting. Let's go for this. I wanted
Yeah.
to do fashion design. I went to the school back home, Altos de Chabón, which is affiliated to Parsons.
Do you
And
mind sharing where you're at?
I'm from Dominican Republic.
All right, so folks are aware. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I went with the idea that I would do fashion design. But when I got there and I saw the people in the fashion program, they were always stressed and crying.
Oh,
And I
no.
was like, I don't know that I want to do this. And then I looked to the other classroom and the fine arts people were hot and having the most fun. They were like half naked, painting, listening to music. I'm like, I think I'm
That's
going to
your
go.
crowd.
So my mom was like, wait, that wasn't the plan. I'm like, I don't know. We're going to navigate this. But through there, I came to New York. I went into graphic design. I went into fashion design. So it was like a path. I have a talent for learning on the spot.
Okay.
So if I went to a job interview and they're like, "Do you know how to use computers?" Again, computers were new-ish
Yeah.
at that point. I was like, "Sure." At night, go somebody that had a computer, teach me how to use the computer. Go to
You
the
figure
job
it
tomorrow.
out.
I figure it out. So I think at that age, at 39, it was the first time that I asked myself, what do I want to do now? What are things that interest me? And I
Mm.
think coming to learn about the body and how we think and how we feel opened that up for me. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this feels really interesting to me. And this is something that feels like I'm helping out. I'm doing something good. Back to your question, I feel that's something that, especially for women, at one point we see that maybe what we chose to do is something we don't want to do anymore, or we thought it was something different inside.
So what I'm hearing is that basically they at that particular stage in life, we're going to be asking these self-discovery questions again. And what you found is that spirituality is giving you those answers. And then now my question is, if that's the case, what are those answers? And what were those answers that if someone's working with you that they would, have with you? Or
It's
how would you guide them to those
Wouldn't it be great
answers?
that somebody would just give us the answer?
Yeah, I don't know if the answers. We are the answer in many ways, but how do you support individuals in finding or discovering that for themselves? That's
The
a big question.
the answer is in the search, and not even the search, in the openness to understand what that
What
is.
does that mean?
We could use a hero's journey as an example,
Yeah.
the typical Joseph Campbell Star
Yeah,
Wars
sure.
thing where you are living your life and everything is fine,
Yeah.
but then one day
Well,
something
that's how we
happens.
started the podcast.
Yeah. And then you're like, I need to go either voluntarily or involuntarily. You are chosen to go do this thing that seems a little scary.
Yeah.
And then in that process, you find dragons and demons and you slay them and you
Yeah.
rescue people. And then you come back home having become a more open
Yeah.
and fulfilled, hopefully, version of yourself. So you have to go through the journey to answer the question. Remember have you read The Untethered Soul?
I've definitely read parts of it.
Michael Singer, I love that
Yeah, I know,
book.
it's a very popular book.
And this was back in the beginning of, because I'll tell you, I didn't seek the spirituality thing, that found me. I was like food, and then all of a sudden things
Like, how'd it
started
find you?
happening. You know what? Things started feeling very magical, and I think it's because I said to myself, "I don't know where this is going, but I feel a call to do this." And I remember having a conversation with my husband, and he was like, "What do you mean?"
I don't know what you mean right now, honestly.
I wanted to pursue this nutrition thing and
Yeah,
to change careers.
yeah.
And he was like, "What about your fashion work?" And I was like, "I'll still do that, but I wanna do this."
Wait, so you're saying that you felt magic in the world of nutrition and wanted to switch careers to nutrition? Am I understanding that correctly?
No, nutrition opened a door
To
for
the
my life to
spirituality.
become interestingly,
Alright.
because I remember, because of what I shared before, so many people telling me, "No, why would you
Yeah,
change
yeah,
now?
yeah.
This is what you decided. You have family, you have a great salary, all the things."
Yeah, yeah.
So my husband, who's my best friend, he was like, "This is really weird to me," because I never talked about that before. He knew I was always dilly-dallying with things,
Yeah.
but he was like, "This is very shocking to me." He was not into it. And
Into the
I
nutrition.
into me changing careers.
Okay. Alright, makes sense.
And right, makes sense. But that made me take some time with myself and really understand that if it was something that I was going to do, I was ruffling all the feathers in my life.
Yeah. Really, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Am I really willing to piss off a bunch of people, confuse a bunch of people, take a risk?
Yeah.
And the answers just came to me.
So how did that lead then to that deeper that point number 3 that you talked about, which is that 3/4 of the conversations about spirituality? How did that how was that illuminated for you?
So
In
I felt like I woke up, which is when people said, an awakening doesn't happen overnight. Joseph Campbell also used to say, first you clean up, and Father Rohr says that too. I love that. First you clean up, then you wake up, and
Yeah,
then you grow up.
sure.
So first you're like,
Sounds like an alchemical process.
right? Things are not making sense to me. I'm not happy. What's going on? Some people stay in that.
Yeah,
And then they try to calm the symptoms: irritability, anxiety,
yeah,
depression,
yeah.
overeating, getting autoimmune, thyroid issues, all this stuff.
Okay.
If you really surrender and understand that something needs to change, you can't keep doing the same thing, whether it's in a relationship, in your work, in your community, with your family. That's the threshold. That's the question. It's, do I understand that something needs to change, not just what's in front of my face?
So what I'm hearing is that as you got deeper, you realized that those other layers of, say, diets, whatever that is, they're facades for that deeper question. They can be some level of, or for true change to happen, it really happens within, and you have to start asking yourself those questions: Am I really in alignment with how I want to be?
Yeah.
And then that opens doors in terms of getting deeper of what does being aligned really mean?
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think love is?
So love is approaching everything and everyone with the same tenderness, openness, compassion,
Hmm.
without judgment, and it's something that comes from you.
Yeah.
It's not something that you ask for, it's not something that can be faked.
Yeah.
Now, that is very abstract because that can mean very different things to many different people, but if we boil it down for me to what essentially it means, is giving without any expectation to
Hmm.
receive, is not preaching, but
Yeah.
actually listening
Yeah.
and holding. And it's something that in today's day and age, I mean, throughout time, but especially today, it's very difficult.
Yeah. The reason why I ask is because to me, as you were talking about alignment, and I was talking about alignment, but as you were talking about peeling the layers and going through the hero's journey, I was thinking very much about what is love? Because and the definition of love, I'm starting to in my own journey in life, I've been recently been asking myself, do I really know how to love? Because I think love really is being aligned with the divine will. And that sounds crazy to some people. What does that mean? First of all, I got to presume that there's a God. in this show, we presume that there's a God, there's a higher power.
Sky Dad.
That's why we say, "Oops, I said God," because sometimes it's, "Oh my God, he said God." And some people feel, like, afraid to say the word God because that's the way I felt growing up. I felt judged if I were to say the word God. And so I will say it, which is that I believe that love is to be aligned with the divine will. And I wonder if the process of nutrition and what you're doing is really helping individuals to be aligned with the divine will. And then the question becomes, what is divine will? What does it mean to be aligned with the divine will? And what's interesting is that in Sufism and in Kabbalah, they have so many names of God. It's incredible. Like Kabbalah has the Zohar has so much about the different attributes of God. So does Sufism. Many mystical paths do. And then the idea is that we represent or mirror those different attributes of God. And so I wonder, and I share this with you, do you think that those folks that you're talking about, those three-fourths of those individuals, et cetera, what attribute of God do you think that they're needing to be aligned with?
So I feel that's a question that each person answers on their own, because it's very important for me to clarify that this doesn't happen in a linear
Of
pattern.
course,
I'm,
absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
all about the spiral
Yeah, yeah,
dynamics
yeah,
at a
yeah.
personal level, community. It's a point that I tattooed a spiral to remind me of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. We bring what works, we leave behind what doesn't, but it's
Yeah,
very gradual.
yeah,
So it's not as, for example, you said love means being aligned with divine will. If you would have said that to me 5 years ago, even in the middle of my awakening, I'd be like, oh, yeah, yeah. But now I understand it because I've experienced it.
yeah.
Somebody else may come and share something with me that I'm like, that resonates with me, and I may not understand it until 10 years from now. So there's a lot of these phrases of we are all the same. We are all fractions of the universe or God experiencing itself
Yeah,
so that it could feel love.
sure.
Polarity of black and white, hate and love is so that we understand so it's, yeah, I get it. But when it lands on you, so it has to, I feel like the requirement, which is not a requirement, but just to use a word that makes sense, is to be open to the exploration without expectation of when answers are going to come, when you're going to have clarity. For me, the moment I understood love was when I asked myself, because of something Carissa said,
To be
Carissa Schumacher.
specific to those who don't.
Somebody asked a question in one of
No.
the lectures, and she said, how are you? It could have been Yeshua in the book,
Yeah,
but it came from that source.
yeah,
How can you, what gives you the right to try and love and give love when you're not accepting it yourself,
yeah,
when you're not allowing yourself to be
yeah.
loved? And that
Being
blew my mind
that's
open.
solid, yeah.
I was like, am I allowing myself to be loved?
Ooh.
And I was not. And this is not so
Why do you
long
think
ago.
that was the case? This is a great question. I think so many, excuse if I might say so, but great point. It's a solid point, which is that I think a lot of us, at least people I've spoken to, and maybe that signifies the people I hang around with, which is that there's a lot of folks who struggle to receive love and accept that they are loved. And I think there are a lot of different variables. I won't answer that question though. I'll let you answer it, and I'm happy to chime in as what I think. Why do you think that's the case? And what was that for you?
The first several things came to my mind, but the first thing is because we make love conditional. And since we're little kids, we are taught to love or be loved with conditions. If you do something good, you get a reward.
Yeah.
If you're a
Yeah.
good
You're
girl
right.
or a good boy, you're told you're a good girl or a good boy, and you get more hugs and you get
Yeah.
more
Oh,
attention.
yeah.
And on the opposite end, if you're not didn't go great, get good grade, whatever the experience is, you feel a shift or a
Or a
difference,
separation,
a
a perceived
separation.
separation.
Yes, there's a lot of confusion to what love is, especially for you particularly. If we boil it down to feeling seen, loved, respected, and understood without money, without fun activities, but there's like a value.
Yeah.
So for a child, I guess I'm pointing at maybe trauma, not major trauma, but just like the experience of growing up in a modern world where sometimes people feel they're giving you love by giving you things, but they're actually not there.
Yeah.
And they're not listening to you or looking at you.
So basically, the idea is that it's hard for us to accept that we are fully loved for who we are because we've been conditioned for love to be conditional or we have
Yeah.
the expectation that love is conditional. And so when there's a cognitive dissonance, essentially, where it's like, wait, why? And I don't, and am I being, even for me, I was like, am I being narcissistic to say I love who I am? Or am I being egocentric?
Yeah.
And all of the, and funny enough, that's the ego saying that it's being egocentric,
Yeah.
which is
Or there's confusion.
self.
It's just to what it is to love somebody. For me, feeling loved is just having your time and your energy
Yeah.
for a little bit. It doesn't require words. It doesn't require, if I'm talking to you, you listen to me, if you understand me, even if we disagree, there's an
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
But it can be very confusing in a world that rewards goodness and punishes badness.
So for you, do you mind sharing what that was for you? Are you, is
So
that, was
for
that, if it's
me,
too personal, that's fine.
no, no, it's
Or at
totally
least for some of
fine.
the, what have you seen? Because when you have these conversations with the folks that you coach, yes, you have the outwardly conversation, the exoteric conversation, nutrition, et cetera. But then you're basically helping individuals align with love. What does it
Yeah.
mean to love themselves,
Well,
essentially?
and to that point, I wanted to shed more clarity on, yes, feeding yourself is giving yourself love and respect.
Yeah.
So the first step when I'm working with somebody, we get the food in order, we create a structure so that your nervous system calms down, your hormones balance, so then we can do the other work.
All right.
If we start going over here and you're still,
Of course. Yeah.
it's not, so the body, the sacred container holding your soul, we calm that down. That's the portal, but then we go deeper. So going back to this, your question, one of the places, one of the things I realized when I asked myself that question was that I believed that my husband and children had a lot of conditions in loving me, that I had to tick a lot of boxes. Those boxes were created by me.
Mhm.
So when I started speaking to them about, I felt that I had to do this, to do that, I have very open conversations with my kids,
That's
and I've
wonderful.
learned to, I've been with my husband since 1998.
Wow.
And right now we have the best conversation. Like, magic
Wonderful.
happens when you talk openly, when you
Yeah.
become vulnerable. And I realized, oh my God, these people had no idea that I thought that for them to give me love, I had to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and look a certain way and do a certain thing and all that stuff. So breaking down all these walls was very liberating.
Mhm.
And then I realized how much my love was conditioned too.
I see.
So it really all comes from you. So am I listening to myself? Am I seeing myself? No, I was, even though I changed careers, I was repeating the same patterns.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
My schedule and this and hustling.
Yeah.
Am I listening to my body when it's tired? Not. I started slipping back. So if you hold on to the idea that it really starts with you, are you loving yourself?
Yeah.
Number one. Are you allowing others to love you? And then can you love?
That's pretty deep. I got that's it is. I really it's pretty deep, but I think also the question for me then is that let's say someone wants to go in that journey of being able to accept love, to receive love. And if, actually even just to feel to love themselves. Where do they start? I was thinking about it, and this is going back to it's going back to what I talked about earlier about aligning with divine will, which is that I think the only way that we truly experience love and liberation, which I feel like this conversation ultimately is about liberation, which is love is the doorway towards liberation of our souls to oneness, which is pure ecstasy. The question is, how do we get there? And it's not even there, but how do we be? How do we
Mhm.
be? How do we be so that we are in alignment with that? And so there's a beautiful verse in the Quran, and I was reading it last night, and I was blown away. I'm going to just read it here for everyone else because it's just, and I could talk about this for weeks, but I want to focus on one particular spot. This is Surah 6 and Ayah 59 for those who actually want to look it up. And in the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful, with him are the keys of the unseen. No one knows them, but he knows what is in the land and the sea. No leaf ever falls, but that he knows about it. And there is no grain in the dark layers of the earth, or anything fresh or dry that is not recorded in a manifest book. He is the one who recalls your souls by night and knows what you do by day. Then he makes you rise up therein so that a fixed term may be fulfilled. Thereafter to him are you to return. Then he will tell you what you have been doing. And when I was reading those two things, these two that's what they call them, there was a lot there for me to ponder on. But one thing was he talks about, the Quran talks about God knowing what is deep in the earth, right? The grain that is deep in the earth. And then he also talks about the souls being pulled up at night. Both of them are in perceived darkness. If you think about it, there's darkness there. And that darkness is perception. And both are designed to transcend. Like you have the seed, which is in the darkness. And if you were that seed, or any person is in that seed, they're in that darkness, they're like, oh my God, it's like, it's dark in here and I'm underneath the soil. And like, where's my life going to be headed? When the ego's introduced, like you're down there, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And yet you're meant to be there in order to grow. And it's designed that way. Same with the souls being taken at night. Why at night? Again, this perceived darkness and the souls is transcending to a higher realm. And so then the question then became for me, which is that, oh, okay, so these things that are happening, these processes are essentially alignment with divine will. They've been created for the seed to be in the ground and it will grow, right? Even if it's in the depths of darkness. Or the soul, when someone's sleeping, it's designed that the soul will rise, right? Or go to a higher realm, so to speak, when one sleeps. So then my question became, how do we really align ourselves with the divine will, right?
Yeah.
And I think a part of that question is, how do we love ourselves?
Yeah.
Because if there's a divine that loves us and we are programmed for us to love ourselves for who we are, then how do we deconstruct those other narratives that are telling us otherwise? And there's so many narratives in this world that are telling us that, we're
Yeah.
not loved. That's the whole machine.
If we boil it down, there's a couple of things that came to mind. Number one, the seed doesn't question why it's in the ground.
Exactly. It's like
It's just
the ego.
there's
I
no
feel like if the seed had an ego, it would.
well, but that's the gift. What's our gift and our demise that we have that other sentient beings don't have?
Are you going to say free will?
Yeah. We think about stuff. Am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? Should I do this? Should I do that? Right? So that detail, a
Yeah.
seed doesn't question. The seed is, I'm a seed and then I'm a plant, and the caterpillar doesn't question. It's like chewing away at things.
But
and
we don't
then
really know if it's questioning or not, but let's
I don't
presume.
think so, because they wouldn't do it. Do you think if you were a little seed and you're going to explode into a
Yeah.
plant, you would want to do that?
What if it's in love?
It's
See,
that
that's my point. Like, I feel like what they know that we don't is the consumption of love, being consumed in love.
because they don't question it. Because
But that's the point.
yeah, and that's what I was talking about before. You just have to be open
Yeah.
without so many questions and expectation, but everybody wants to know when. So when I was talking about the untethered soul, I remember every page, when is he going to tell me how to untether from my, it's like at the end of the book and then you have to figure it out.
Oh my God, I didn't finish that.
It's beautiful. But the whole point is to just say yes, yes. Yeah. Imagine you have a yes tattooed here.
I think why not?
Yes,
More of a why
yes,
not.
yes. Do you want to do this? Yeah, unless it's something detrimental.
Course, yeah.
But something else that came to me when you were reading that beautiful verse was, that sounds like a mother to me. Your mom, like your mother that knows you better than anybody else, that
Yeah.
loves you unconditionally, that in your moments of darkness, she brings the light. So this idea of, think of a loving mother. And that's something that I talk about a lot with women, self-mothering. Maybe you didn't have an ideal mom, but
Yeah.
how would you mother somebody? How would you mother yourself? And if somebody feels too intimidated in calling God, call it mother. I pray to mother every night.
Yeah.
And find a way to connect without expectation, without so many timelines. Everybody wants to know when.
Do you have any examples of mothering, self-mothering? Just ideas or suggestions, thoughts. Someone wants to self-mother. What does that look like?
So the number one thing is I do put myself first, and not in a selfish, narcissistic
So
way.
what does that
even.
mean?
In the morning, I need to do my thing first.
Right.
I wake up,
Yeah.
I take care of myself, I do my meditation, I eat something, and then everybody else comes,
That makes
right?
sense. Okay.
In my day, anything that has to do with me comes first.
Mhm.
If I have a doctor's appointment, or if I need to rest, or if I need a moment, and I talk to my family about it. But I've learned, which I didn't before. For the longest time, I was at the bottom of the barrel. I put myself first. It's just if my kid needs me, I would say, okay,
Yeah.
drop everything, run out of the meeting, go home, take the kid where they need to be. So putting yourself first is imperative, and it's actually benevolent, because if you're burnt out, you can't do anything for anybody else.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself first. And that doesn't mean fancy spa treatment. Just eat your food, breathe into your body, move around a little bit. If you need to sit down, it's not complicated. But how many days did I spend wake up, coffee, work, come home? So you need to prioritize your care. And then that branches out into, am I listening to myself? Am I hearing what I'm saying? Am I growing? Am I honoring myself? Love, you can't jump from not loving yourself to loving yourself. It doesn't happen like that. You can't be like, I love myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can write it. You can say it all day long.
Sure.
But in order for one to love, there has to be a sense of safety.
Yeah, of course.
Safety comes from trust, and trust to me comes from respect. So if you haven't been eating food, eat some food.
Well,
Respect your
basically,
body.
but also, yeah, it's not just eating. I think it's being very aware, conscious about what you are eating and what does that mean,
Let me tell you,
and
a
all
lot of
that.
people are just not eating. Women, we're just not eating food. They think they're eating, and it's I got up and had coffee with coconut butter in it. And then I ran out the door, and then I had a little salad for lunch. And then at 4, I was crashing. So I had another coffee. And then at dinner time, I ate everything because you're
Yeah.
starving. So you're not eating. That's
Mhm.
not eating. That's putting some stuff in your body thinking that you're eating. So sitting down and actually eating, I actually say that's step number 1. I don't care what you're eating, but please eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's start with that. And then you start refining. All right, what's on your plate? Maybe a little bit more of this, maybe a little bit of
Yeah.
that, and then you keep going.
That's from the nutrition side of it,
Yeah.
which is great. How do you then move from the nutrition to then, okay, here's how you're going to love yourself more, learn to love. And are those conversations that end up happening? Sounds
Yeah.
like they did. And
The first step is to nourish. Because if you're running dry, you're telling your body,
yeah.
we
And
don't
then
need
what?
that.
And then I guess it's personalized, right? For each person,
Yeah. Then you
you
go
figure out
on.
what works for them.
Yeah, it's a journey of self-discovery, which if you make it fun, even the sucky parts, because there are some parts that are
And
not.
how do you make it fun? Like, I think about there's some moments where I'm like, Lord have mercy. I know that I'm down about something. I know where the thread is. Now I'm more aware of where's the knot that's starting
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, and I think about how do I make it? And I think to myself, is there any way I can make this brighter or fun or feel better or whatever it is? How do I transmute this? And I could talk forever about that. But it's so much easier said than done, of course. So it's
Me
amazing. Or give us an idea of how you found that to
To
be the
me,
case. How do you make it fun?
curiosity. Just stay curious. Kids are curious.
They are, that's for sure.
And that's something that I'm grateful that in my family, they said it so much about me that it's a quality that I kept.
Mm.
My mom used to tell me, "Why do you know so many random facts?" I'm like, "I don't know." But that curiosity, kids play because they're curious. They explore because they get into trouble because they're
Yeah.
curious. And slowly throughout time, we may lose that and we just become a little stale. So if you make yourself your own project and you're like, I just want to understand why when I'm sad, when I'm happy, I'm happy. When I eat this, I feel like that. But
Yeah.
when I feel, and it keeps you engaged. When we become robotic and rigid in everything we do, that becomes boring. And
Mhm.
humans don't enjoy being bored. When
Yeah.
we get
That's for
bored, we
sure.
get into different trouble.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you make your getting to know yourself as an adult, hopefully my dream would be that we talk about these things in schools to
Yeah.
kids.
Why not?
The
We
class about
should.
you.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is how food works, this is how emotions work, which they're doing a little bit,
Yeah.
but like really how to stay connected to yourself all
Well, then
day.
the question becomes what is the self? And that is a whole different discussion. But we could go on forever, and I really appreciate any final. So one thing that we do as we wrap up, a couple of things that we do is we ask our guests what are they grateful for, and then if there's anything else, any final words they'd like to share. So, is there anything you'd like to share that you're grateful for in life? I'm
Well,
sure so much.
this may sound really primary, but I'm grateful to be alive.
Okay.
I every day I've been making a point of telling myself I am safe, I'm loved, I'm alive, and I believe great things will happen today, even if I don't notice them, and I'm going to seek joy and I'm gonna live my life. And there's nothing more irreverent and rebellious than a person, especially a woman, living her best life
Sure, of
and
course.
connecting that to what it means to be liberated. To me, liberation is I'm just good with myself
Yeah,
now, sitting here, or when I'm outside on 34th Street, or I'm in my house. Can I live with myself?
yeah.
That's true liberation, as I am. So I'm just grateful that I'm here right now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And any final words? I'm sure in the show notes we'll have information to connect with Paola, but any other words or thoughts you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
What just came up was in a world that is hell bent on telling us how to do things, either through artificial intelligence, through people's dictating their methodology
Sure.
of navigating your
Yeah.
life, figure out your own.
Mhm.
Become so in love with trying to figure yourself out
Yeah.
and learn from different people, pull all the resources, but then make your own
Yeah.
little,
Take the agency, so to
yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Don't chat GPT your life, please.
Yeah. That's probably good advice. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you, for you to join, and hopefully to more conversations, and
Yeah.
grateful for you.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you too.
Thank you.